Hey everyone, it's Em from My Life Planned. Thanks for being here. Today we are going to do some pen testing in the 2026 Papertess Designs planners, and also I will show you a couple of covers that fit or don't fit in case you are new to these sizes and looking to kind of accessorize. Okay, let's get into it. I thought we might go from smallest to biggest. So this is the daily notebook, which is pocket size. I do have a video that I posted last week walking through all of these. I will see if my very fresh YouTube skills might allow me to put a link to that. But if not, I'm sure you can go to my channel page and find it from there. So I thought we would start with the tombows. These are my probably most used colors. So firstly we have 942, N89, is it N89 or N89? I mean, it doesn't matter, but N60. I love this paper, it's just really smooth to write on. I think this is 992, but I use these a lot, so it wears off. I should do that trick where you nail polish or put some clear tape over. That one's 850, then 800. Apologies if me not doing this within the lines is making you feel uncomfortable. N95. N79, I think that's my fave apart from 942 and 990. So the writing experience is really smooth and quite nice. We'll come back to them, I think, and do some mild liners now. I've got a range of light colours and dark colours. So the first one, I think it's the beige. Then the olive green, the darker brown. This one is such an underrated shade. I use it a lot, but it will be interesting to see, you know, how that ink that pulls up a little bit at the end goes. So these two greens, this darker one and this lighter one, are from the latest set. I really liked that set, and it's interesting that this one really looks quite teal on this page, but in my mind, in real life, which I'm looking at it in real life, I'm not talking about through the camera, it's definitely greener. Anyway, I think I'm rambling at this point. So pink, a purple, this light blue. I use this light blue a lot, whereas light blue is like my least favorite color, but I really like this mild liner. And then the standard grey. And then I thought we'd finish off. I picked some very juicy looking zig dot markers. So they're not necessarily the colours that I would choose to use all the time, but I figure they would give us a really good indication of how this paper fares. Oh, this one, that is dark. Okay, and then the purple. So it'll take those dots a little while to dry, but there are the tombows at the top and then the mild liners in the middle and the dots at the bottom. So let's have a look at how they've gone. It's Tomoe River paper, so there is always going to be shadowing, I would say. That's just normal. So the tombows, there's no bleed through on any of them. I would say you can see at the end where some of the ink pulls a little bit, but that's not coming through on the paper. But with the mild liners, it probably is a little bit on the edge there. And these dot markers, I mean, they are really, really pigmented. If you have a look, and they're really dark, so there definitely is, I think we need to wait for them to dry, but this one in particular, like that's definitely coming through on the next page. So let's have a look at some pen testing. I'm just going to move these pens, it might be loud. I am not a fountain pen girly. I've just got my standard gels, and I'm also really boring because I actually just use the same pen every time, which is this one, the Energel Cleaner. So great writing experience with that. These two pens, I know they are very popular. I hate these pens. I find that they skip a lot, quite often, and of course it's, see, like look at that, whatever. But of course Murphy's Law, this one wrote very nicely there. We've got the Sarasa Dry 0.4. Again, all of these are writing really nicely on this paper. The Sarasa Clip 0.3. I don't really have any thicker pen tips, sorry, but fine tip forever. So, but maybe I'll get some if it would be helpful for people to do some testing with. This is the Energel Pentel needle tip, but I don't know if it's just the same as the Cleaner, but it looks kind of the same, the top two. This one is the Uniball Eye. It says ultra micro, but it's really just micro, I think, in comparison to the other markers, because it's much more thicker than I would normally write with. And then the Sharpie, of course, you kind of always need that point of comparison, really, of a Sharpie to see if it will go through, because it always does, and it should, because it's a permanent marker. So let's have a look here, that third one. Maybe this is actually out of ink, but I find that they just skip all the time. So those dots have also had time to dry. So let's have a look. Pens are all great, apart from the Sharpie, of course. I don't use a pencil board, so you can see where my writing has indented. If that indenting of the page isn't for you, this paper is probably not for you. And yeah, you can see the back of those dots is probably not great. But I don't use these coloured dots in my planners, so I don't know, that's not really such an issue. These markers that I use all the time, to me, they are fine. This one, the brown is obviously dark, but maybe I've been just conditioned to the TRP issues from last year that I'm pretty fine with all of that, apart from the dot markers. Okay, pocket done. Next up, we have the B6 yearly notebook. Again, there is a walkthrough of them on my page if you are interested. So we'll do it on this back notes page. I'm just going to weigh it down there because it's the very back one. So we'll do the tombows again. I'm assuming that it's the same paper as the pocket, but you never know. So we'll do a quick test of these tombows. I'd love to know what everyone's favourite tombow colours are, because I'm going to bring this down a bit. I'm pretty stuck in my ways with my favourite colours. Very predictable, I would say. And I would always set up a pen test page like this at the back of my planners. After this video, I'll go back and label them. So if that's not something that you do, it's really handy, because I find that colours, particularly the tombows, how they look on like a regular piece of white paper might actually look really different to how it looks on the Tomoe River paper. So keep that in mind. So yeah, after this, I will go and label each of these swatches. So now the mildliners. And I do have some of the brighter mildliners, so let me know in the comments or send me a message on Instagram if you would like, if you'd like to see any other colours. I think I've got pretty much almost every colour that's been done of the mildliners over the years, so do let me know. And we're almost ready to do the dot markers. So I've got the same for juicy ones as earlier, but I also got some of the ones that I'm more likely to use. So let's see how they fare. So I have got this lighter brown, actually looks quite orange there, this pink, and the grey. I use the grey a bit. So we might move on to the pen test and then we'll check those inks once they've dried. I don't have issues with how any of these pens dry on this paper, but you'll see once we get to the B5 Manager's Notebook, which is on the Cosmo Airlight paper, it does dry differently. So, hello. See, straight away, like no issues with drying there. Whereas I will compare in the B5. I'm doing it in a different order as the pocket planner. Sorry, that's not the best for continuity. This paper is very smooth to write on. It's a really, really nice writing experience, which I think I've already mentioned with the pocket. It's interesting, this Sarasa Dry 0.4. I used to use 0.4, but now I'm 0.3. It is, yes, so nice to write with. And the Sarasa clip I used to like, but if you're like new to gel pens, I've only been using them for a few years because I used to use erasable pens, but then I thought, just stop. Just transition and cross it out if you need to. I really like this, but in comparison, I find that the Pentel Energel Cleaner is just the smoothest 0.3 writing experience. The others feel a little bit kind of skippy on the page in comparison. Okay, and we're not using this one. So let's have a look at how they look on this page. They look great. Colors look nice and vibrant, and there's no feathering with any of that writing. I know that was an issue with some of the fountain pens, and as I've said, I don't use fountain pens, but definitely in last year's paper, in some planners, I did experience some feathering even with the gel pens. But yeah, that wasn't an issue here. Well, I think that's kind of interesting that there is less show through on this paper than in the pocket. So that is the Sharpie, which it's always going to show through, but having some focusing issues. What's new? So the tombows at the top are great, and the mildliners are also fine to me, but let's look at these dot markers from the other side. Just going to pull up the page from the pocket and we can compare. So yeah, I reckon it looks a little bit different. I think that they're definitely showing more on the pocket compared to the B6, which is really, really interesting. I think I pressed with the same firmness for the dot markers. Obviously these three at the bottom, they're the ones that I'm more used to using because they're a bit more kind of neutral out of frame. They are more neutral kind of colours, but that is definitely interesting. Okay, the last book is the Manager's Notebook. It is the B5 size. It's the big one. And this paper is Cosmo Airlight. So it is definitely different to the Tomoe River paper. And it looks like the page is pulling up, but I'm just using that very back page because I probably wouldn't usually use it for writing in, so this is a good way to use it. I'm just going to adjust my stand. Give me a second. It's really difficult to compare the paper in terms of the feel of it on camera, but this is the Cosmo Airlight. It's still thin compared to other planners, but this is really thin and rustly, and this one you can tell it definitely is a bit thicker. So I really enjoyed the experience of using this paper this year. I will say it takes longer to dry for writing with a gel pen, but also for if you are writing, say, with a highlighter and then you want to write over the top, you need to wait a bit longer for that to dry as well. So let's have a look. Okay, tombows first. And so the one in the middle, which is the 850, that's probably definitely one of the palest of the tombos. And we'll have a look after this to see if the colours look any different to what they do on the TRP paper as well, and the other planners. So like I've said about the others, I also really enjoy writing on this paper as well. Let's get into the mildliners now. I might do them up here. So the pink, the green. Are there any other markers that are like must-haves apart from tombows and mildliners? I feel like I'm pretty predictable with my go-tos, but I'm curious if there's anything else that I should be using. It also can be difficult to find, you know, some brands and some products in Australia. And still, every time I swatch that dark green, it just looks so different to what I think it looks like. I'm going to go find one of my planners that I've used it in and compare it, because I feel like I'm gaslighting myself into thinking it should look different. Hold on. Okay, this is my planner from yesterday using this dark green. And it probably does look quite tealy, but I think it just took seeing it literally by itself on this page for me to realise it's a bluey green, which is funny. It's not important. It really doesn't matter. But anyway, okay, let's have a look at these dot markers now. I'm actually wondering, looking at them, why I bought these ones, because they're really not my colours, but I've had them for ages, and it was probably, I probably had a purpose for them. I just don't know what that purpose was. All right, so you can see again, these ones are definitely much lighter in colour. So I was going to say we'll have a spoiler, but we actually can't see the back of the paper, and I've got it weighed down. So we'll quickly do the pen test. Okay. It definitely feels different writing on this paper. I don't think it's as smooth as the TRP, but is anything as smooth as the TRP, and I don't mind. Like, it's not toothy. Like, think of that Erin Condren paper, how it's super toothy. And again, I like writing on that paper too, but it's just different. I'm probably not explaining it very well. But sometimes I like draw out some layouts in these pages and maybe draw a line down the middle of the page, and I definitely have to wait for it to dry. So let's have a look at drying test. So straight away, see how it smudges, whereas when we use this on the pocket, actually it was this one that we used. So let's actually make sure that we're being consistent. Drying test. So see, it smudges. So it is just something that you have to be aware of. I think the situation with the Tomoe River paper is so unique to be able to write something and it automatically not smudge. So it is just something to be aware of. I have been using this planner for different parts of this year, the 2025 version, and it's really not an issue because I don't write over my ink, and I don't have my hand like all over the page anyway, but I do need to be mindful of it if I am ruling lines on my page. But let's have a look and see how the ink performs on the other side. Okay, so here is our pen swatches, and here it is on the other side. So you can tell with the Cosmo Airlight paper being a bit thicker that it has much less show through compared to the other planners. So I'll compare it to the V6. Even the Sharpie. Wow, which one is it? The third one is the Sharpie. So look at this Sharpie compared to here. That's pretty amazing. So yeah, definitely the least show through on this. And I'll get the pocket now. So here we've got all of them. The pocket is upside down to make it fit, but you can see it's really interesting about the pocket pages. The pocket paper also looks a bit lighter, but I don't know if I'm just in my own head about it. So definitely much less show through on that Cosmo Airlight paper. Okay, let's have a quick look at covers. Firstly, for the pocket, these are my two options. I have this custom VDS. I think the leather is the JL Argia, maybe. And I had this one lengthened by 0.5 of a centimetre because it is quite a thick book. It would probably be okay without it. With this type of folio, I like to not tuck in the front page, and I always get my customs with no pen loop and usually with no clasp because I just find they get in the way. So this is the current pocket planner. I use it for my daily mindfulness, like my gratitude, my wins, and if I need to, like what's on my mind. And then this one is a VDS Giramondo. I think it's the small size. This is the Toscana Gold. I love this leather and I love the color. But with this one, you know how we can all have our little idiosyncrasies. I love the view here with an open book and the cover. I don't like the elastic showing if I'm not using them. So for this planner, I would actually tuck in the front page and then tuck in the back cover, because when it's opened, I don't want those elastics to be showing. So we're all fussy in our own ways. I also like that the grommets for this one is on the back. So they are two really good cover options. I had a pocket Moterm cover, but the edges got all like, I think the glue leaked and they got all white and sticky, and I was just really disappointed with it. So I don't have it anymore, and it's probably put me off from buying. Okay, onto covers for the B6. This is my 2025 B6. It's in this LV cover. I think it's called the Nomad cover. It's not available anymore, but because this book is so thick, this clasp doesn't do up, but that doesn't bother me because it's just sitting here on my desk. But it is a really nice fit. I do have to I like to have something under this because listen, like it hits my concrete table, and I love my table, but I do not want to damage that clasp. So another really good option is the Giglio B6 Appunto. So as I said, this B6 booklet is really thick. It's 600 pages. So I don't like those little bits, so I keep them tucked in there. So this fits really nicely in the Giramondo. It does up fine. There would definitely be room to grow. You can see the pages aren't close to the edge at all. So that is a really, really nice fit. If you are going for a custom cover though from someone like Maria at Bujo Planner, this is one of my favorite covers. It's like black on black, but this one doesn't quite fit this Papertess Designs, which is fine because when I bought it from her, I didn't buy it to use with this planner. I bought it to use with a different one, and I don't want to damage the back cover of this one too much by trying to jam it in here. But it pretty much like almost works, but it doesn't quite. So if you are going to order, a custom, just keep in mind that you might want to get your cover widened. And finally, the B5. I have just one cover for my B5. I was so tempted to get another one in the other color that I love, which is whiskey, but one is enough. So this is the Louise Carmen. It's kind of like a trifold traveler's notebook almost. So I have one of their portfolios, and you can see that it goes on an elastic. So it's a really great fit. It has a pocket at the back that you can put your stuff in. You don't have to have the portfolio with it, of course, and you can do it up this way or you can have it this way. I've got embossing on both fronts, and then it's got that little French flag. I don't actually use the elastics to close this very much. I usually just leave it on my desk like this. It's close to the edge, but that's kind of how it is. On my previous review for the Papertess Designs, I did compare it to the Sterling Ink B5, and the Sterling Ink B5 is bigger and it goes right to the top edge in here, but this is the perfect fit, I think. Thanks for joining me for this pen test / cover test for the Papertess Designs planners. I hope it was useful. As I've said, I really love everything that Tess does. I love these planners, and I hope it was useful. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel, watched or liked any videos or left a comment. I really, really do appreciate it. So again, thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.